Hello my dear friends and welcome to StudyIQ. I am Joycey Joy and today in this lecture we will discuss about the importance of steel industry in India. In the recent years, the production and the consumption of steel is increasing in India and it is likely to play a major role in the global industry. So it is not only the production but also consumption. That means the supply and the demand of steel in India is increasing. So there is a supply side and demand side increase in case of steel industry in India. So with this, India is going to play a major role in the global steel industry. So we will look into this in detail in this lecture. Let us look into the status of steel production and consumption in the country. In the financial year 2017-18, that is financial year 2017, the production and the consumption of steel in India increased. So the production increased by 3.1% and consumption increased by 7.9%. Now in India, the production of steel is 103 million tons and consumption is 90.7 million tons. And India is the third largest producer of steel in the world. The first one is China, second one Japan, and third one is India. And it is expected that India will soon become the second largest producer of steel globally. Now coming to the consumption. An increase in domestic consumption or domestic demand for steel comes mainly from the sectors like infrastructural sector, real estate and automobiles. So, with the growth of these three sectors in the Indian economy, it is expected that the consumption or the demand for steel in India will further increase. And the government of India has also mooted a plan to increase the domestic steel capacity to 300 million tons per annum by 2030. So government is also giving a focus to increase or boost the steel production in the country. But this growth of 300 million ton capacity should be supported by the private sector as well as the FDI. The government cannot do it or undertake such a large scale production, but it has to be supported by the private sector initiatives and the foreign capital. It is not only the capital but also the technological assistance has to come from private sector and foreign sector. That is, foreign technology and foreign capital plays a very important role in meeting the target of the government to increase the production of steel capacity to 300 million ton by the year 2030. Now, regarding the consumption of steel in India, we have seen that from 2017-18 financial year, there is an increase in the consumption or demand of steel in India. But considering the factor, the population of India, the per capita consumption of steel is very less in India compared to global counterparts. At the global level, the world's average is 214 kg per capita consumption of steel per year. But in case of India, it is only 65 kg. That means the consumption of steel in India per capita is much lesser than the global average. So there should be more focus on the consumption side also. This can be done by improving the investment economy. This can be done by improving the investment ecology of the country. That means improving or facilitating more investment in infrastructure, real estate, automobiles, etc., who are large-scale consumers of steel. Now, another important factor to be considered here is the declining capacity of China in case of steel production. In China, there is a rapid increase in the demand for steel, but the capacity to produce steel has been declining. And this opportunity can be very well utilized by India. When the domestic demand for steel in China is high and the supply is less, China will no longer be able to export much steel that is produced in China. So this opportunity can be very well utilized by India. Now let us understand what are the sector-wise benefits of increase in the steel production capacity of the country. According to a recent IMF International Monetary Fund projection, India will have an increase in the GDP in 2018 financial year as compared to the previous financial year. So IMF projects India's GDP growth rate at 7.4%. So what is meant by this GDP growth rate? GDP growth rate essentially means that there is an increase in the output of goods and services in the economy. So when there is an increased production or output, it means that the productive capacity or the productive activities undertaken by the economy increases. So this sustained growth in the GDP will benefit many of the steel consuming sectors. So the major steel consuming sectors include construction, real estate, capital goods, consumer goods, automobiles, energy sector, etc. So there will be more investment or more capital infusion in all these sectors. So they are major steel consuming economies. So they are major steel consuming segments or sectors. So when there is an increased production in the major steel consuming sectors, the demand for steel will increase. So if the productive capacity of steel manufacturing in India increases, this can meet the increasing demand of this major steel consuming segments. Second one is the industrial corridors. As a part of infrastructural development, industrial corridors are being built. So this is to reduce the transportation cost, the logistics cost, and to facilitate trade within the country and also to boost the exports. So this industrial corridors will help in improving the connectivity and also to reduce the trade cost or logistics cost. So domestic production of steel will help improve the infrastructure, the industrial corridors, by making steel available at lower cost. Now third one is the real estate sector. The real estate sector is also much dependent on steel. Out of the total steel production in India, around 15 to 20% is consumed by the real estate sector, and there is a higher scope for real estate sector in the coming future because of rapid urbanization. The rate of internal migration in India is very high, and this has led to urbanization or rapid urbanization. To meet the requirements of the new urban class, there is need for infrastructural development, housing, real estate, etc. So the demand for steel in the real estate sector will also improve. Now coming to the mega cities. At present, there are 31 mega cities in India as per 2016 data. Now, it is expected that this 31 will increase to 41 by 2030. So, this is due to large-scale migration, urbanization and infrastructural development. So, this is an indication of growing economy. So, with a growing economy, there is more demand for commercial purposes, hospitality, retail space, etc. So, steel industry will also get demand from mega cities to meet their demands. Another significance for the steel industry comes from the implementation of regulations regarding earthquake resistance and building strength. So such type of regulations increases the demand for steel in construction, and along with all this is the industrial boom or the service sector boom. So as the service sector improves and contributes more towards GDP, there will be more employment in the services sector. On the other hand, there is agrarian distress in the rural economy or in the agricultural sector. So many people losing jobs, there is rampant unemployment in the rural economy. So such factors will drive laborers from agricultural sector to services sector. So increase in the GDP contribution or growth in the services sector means that there will be an improvement or increase in the urban and semi-urban accommodations. There will be more demand for office spaces and there will be a growth of the corporate environment. So with all these conditions, the demand for steel in the country is expected to rise. And to meet this increasing demand, the Make in India initiative has given a special focus on the production of domestic steel. Now let us also understand what is the concept of precasting. So under the concept precasting, the construction will be done off-site. That means if a particular building is built on a particular place, the construction would be done somewhere else and it would be transported to the required site once finished. And precasting is considered to be the future of construction technology in India. In India, the urbanization is increasing in a rapid pace. So, in order to keep up with the rapid pace of growth in urbanization, precasting can help, because precasting includes design, engineering, manufacturing, assembling, project management, and thereby it increases the productivity significantly. And at present, only 2% of the construction in India is done through precasting technology. And the application of precast technology has primarily been visible in the metro rail network and mass housing projects. So, an improvement in the use of precast technology will also enhance the demand in the steel sector. So, this is the status and potential of steel industry in India. You can find the PDF of this lecture on my Facebook page, and for any queries regarding your UPSC preparations, you can get in touch with me on my Facebook page, or you can email me at joycey.studyiq@gmail.com. Thank you.